and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and this podcast is being recorded on the land of the Anishinaabe, Odawa, and Mississauga people. It's really important to me that I continue to learn about this land, the indigenous people who cared for it for so long, and the history and culture of my settler and immigrant ancestors. I'm a Canadian yoga teacher, mom, entrepreneur, and forever student who loves to ask questions. And I think that's why podcasting really is a good fit for me. On top of that, I get to ask questions about a topic that I'm really passionate about, yoga, each and every week. So I want to say a huge thank you for being here with me so that we can learn together and get the answers to these questions together. The other hat that I wear is the founder of Pelvic Health Professionals. This is a place where movement educators and healthcare professionals collaborate and learn the most up-to-date information regarding pelvic health. Visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com if you'd like to join us. This podcast was made for you, the yoga teacher, because I get how it feels to be out there in the real world as a yoga teacher. I remember what it felt to leave yoga teacher training and just think, oh my gosh, here I am out in the real world. How am I going to make this all work? So I wanted you to have a place where you can connect to other yoga teachers, ideas, and information. And you can listen while you're on the go. You can listen while you're cleaning, gardening, walking your dog, taking kids to school, driving, all of the things that you're busy doing. So I'm super grateful that you're here. And I need to say another thank you because today's episode is powered by OfferingTree. I use and love this software. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about them. I use it in my own business because it automates everything: bookings, payments, Zoom links, reminders, and so much more. And because you are a podcast listener, if you decide to sign up for the software, make sure to grab the discount code that's over at offeringtree.com/Shannon. Today, we are going to continue to talk about money. Last week on the podcast, I shared why every yoga teacher needs a separate bank account, even if you're not required to do so as a business in your country, and even if you have not made a single dollar yet as a yoga teacher. I'm going to link to last week's episode in the show notes. So if you don't have a business bank account yet, go and open one, please. And if you're not convinced as to why, go and listen to that episode. Today, I want to talk about how impactful it can be to connect with your money more, to look at what's going on with your money. And I want to tell you that there's homework for this episode, but you're not alone in doing it. I started doing this homework this week, and I cannot wait to tell you the results of what's already happened just in a few days. So if you are a yoga teacher who wants to make more income and profit, or if you're feeling like you're spending too much or you're just not getting ahead, this episode is specifically for you. I often work with yoga teachers who want to make more money, doing the work they love while sharing yoga with others, because we know that yoga makes a huge impact in people's lives. We've seen it in our own lives. We see it in our student lives. And I get super excited to work with yoga teachers who want to build a sustainable business. And a sustainable business makes you enough profit and enough money that you can continue to do it. Now, today isn't about how to generate more income. We're not talking about that in today's episode. We have some other episodes that are about marketing and growing your yoga business, and I want to do some in the future as well to break things down a little bit more. But today's episode is all about connecting with our money. And I mean to literally connect with it on a regular basis. Now, this isn't some woo-woo thing where I'm going to ask you to dive into your money like Scrooge McDuck or even to hold on to it or do anything like that. Just so you know, whatever kind of money stuff you want to do on the side, that's fine. This is more practical of this is one tactile thing that I want you to try. You need to know where your money is going. You need to know how that hard-earned cash is being spent. And today, I'm going to share what I'm currently doing now with my money and how I'm stepping up my game a little bit more this year to what I was doing last year. Now, before I do that, I want to tell you about OfferingTree. This is a company that cares about yoga teachers, studios, and our podcast listeners. They really care about you. I talk about OfferingTree all the time because I use and love their software. I do all of my bookings through them for both my podcast and my yoga classes. And I really appreciate how I can track my money using their software. I can see how much money each yoga offering is bringing in just with the reports that OfferingTree provides, which is so amazing. I also love that I can choose to include bank fees when I'm charging students or people who are signing up, or I can choose to add them on. And I also can visibly see what those fees are thanks to OfferingTree. Not every bookings offer will do this. And so if you are looking for a software that will do that, but also automate and simplify your business that's actually built for yoga teachers and studios, check out OfferingTree. And there's a free trial. And then if you go beyond that free trial and you decide to sign up, make sure to use our discount over at offeringtree.com/Shannon. Okay, so let's get back into talking about connecting with our money and get into the homework. So when I first started this podcast, I did not feel as confident with making money as I do today. And I think that's just normal, as we grow as humans and we dig into some money mindset stuff, and as we grow as entrepreneurs or business owners, it's like we work those muscles and we get stronger. Just like your first downward dog would be very different than your downward dog today. So wherever you're landing today, know that we are on this journey together, tackling our money mindset as yoga teachers and entrepreneurs, and taking more of a look at the numbers. Let's look more at our finances. Let's just set that as the goal together today. So personally, I've dedicated Fridays to my finances for over 3 years now. So I do this once a week on my calendar. Friday is blocked off for the entire day, and it's called Finance Friday. And I mean, you could do this like Money Monday or any day of the week, any time that you can block off. And I actually really look forward to this day. So it doesn't take me the entire day to do my money stuff. And I also have some jobs where I can throw on a fun music playlist or listen to a podcast that doesn't take a lot of focus. And I get to gather all of my money stuff and do them on Fridays. Now, the two main things that I do on those days are paying all my bills and looking at all the transactions that happened over that week. As some of you know, if you've been listening to the podcast, I hired a bookkeeping team years ago. So I don't have to look at my accounts every week, but I do because it helps me so much. I really want to keep a pulse on what's happening with my money. I can see what I'm spending my money on and where I'm making my money, and it makes a huge difference. So my question to you right now is, how often are you looking at your money? If you are cringing and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to answer this, I really just try and scramble at the end of the tax season, or I'm behind, or I just throw some money in there when things get low, I want you to know that you're not alone and you've got this and we can do it together. So I used to look at my money less than once a week, and weekly felt like a real stretch for me. But now that's the comfortable norm that I'm at. And my plan now is to add in a daily money check-in for the remainder of 2023. And I'm telling all of you, I've already told my partner, Sean, because I want some accountability in this. And I want to really set it out clearly to the people around me, this is what I plan to do. So I'm still keeping my Finance Friday date with myself because I still want to pay my bills and track my metrics that day. The metrics that I track are podcast downloads, email numbers, and other numbers like that. But what I want to add in daily right now is a quick look at my account balances, the expenses that are coming out, and the money that's coming in for that day. And I'm not even requiring myself to do anything. I just want there to be this check-in where I look at my money in some way. And I know if it's a quick day, I might not get to all of my accounts in that day. I might not really be able to do an in-depth look, and that's fine as long as I can, check it off my calendar. Okay, done. I looked at my money today. And if you would like to join me, here's the homework part. Choose what works best for you. So could you check your bank balance once a day? Or if you're not feeling comfortable with that, could you do it once a week? And again, you don't have to do anything else in that time. Just look and see where things are at. So if you're already doing this, you're already looking at your money in some way, weekly or daily, then maybe you can add to this. Maybe you can start to track things if you're not already on paper or in a spreadsheet or in your accounting software, where your money is going either weekly or daily. And at the end of the month, then you can total things up into categories, especially if you haven't been doing that, and see what you're spending money on, what's making you money, and possibly you can start to budget for the next month. Now, a side note on this, make sure you're tracking your business expenses. If you're not sure what those are, I'll link to an article and a podcast that summarizes this. And I'll link to that in our show notes, and that's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/330. And just to clarify on this, I'm suggesting that you look at every account, both your personal and your business, for this daily or weekly check-in. So some of you might really be in your business accounts more, especially if you're running a busy studio or you have a really busy business, but you might not be checking what's going on in your personal finances. So just this week alone, I started doing this, and I saw that I had some subscriptions that I'm not using at all. So there's one that, I don't know why, but it's connected probably with an old phone, and it was a music subscription. I don't know if it's mine or one of the kids or whose it is, but I'm not even using it. And I didn't even know that I was paying monthly for it. Those ones are sneaky, those little subscriptions that hit your account. And you're like, oh, I guess I'm, whatever, I'm paying for that, whatever it is. You can't really remember. I also saw that we had signed up for a streaming service that we did not plan on using again. It was because we wanted one movie and there was a 7-day free trial. And guess what? It did hit my credit card, but I caught it right away and I canceled it. And so it's not this ongoing thing. And I sat there for a minute and thought, do I really need Amazon Prime right now? I don't think I do. So I canceled that. And I found another one where I was like, do I really need Netflix right now? Now, this one's a little trickier because we do use Netflix quite often in our house, but I actually found that we're paying a little higher rate than we actually need to with Netflix. So it is worth looking at your expenses, especially those personal ones if you haven't been looking at them. And I quickly tallied things up. And if I continued to pay these things and didn't ever look at them, it could actually cost me $45 a month. That might not seem like a lot, but that's just in 1 week I found these expenses. So when you are looking at your money and you're tracking it often, you find different things like this. And sometimes you even find mistakes that a bank makes or, a business makes. And you'll also start to examine and think, is this expense worth it for me? Is it necessary in my life? Is it even worth it? There are 2 ways that you can make more money. Bring more money in or spend less of it. So if you have expenses that you could cut, you're going to notice them when you're looking at your daily transactions. And again, you might decide, you know what, daily is too much. I want to start with weekly. Or this might be a monthly thing. If you only look at the end of your tax season, you might decide, okay, I might set 1 day a month to look at my transactions. Now, I'm going to throw this out there and suggest starting with at least once a week if you rarely look at things. And then, can you build that up and join me in my daily monthly check-in goal? But maybe that doesn't feel right for you, and that's fine. I just want you to see how could you in some way look at your money more and connect more with it. I also am reminded of something that my grandpa used to say. He used to say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you save. So let's see what we can do in this next month or in this next half of 2023, if you're listening in real time, or set some kind of a goal for yourself. If you're joining me in any money homework, so maybe it's something else for you. Maybe you're going to start listening to a money podcast, or Maybe you're going to talk about money with a friend, or maybe you're setting up the Profit First system. So I'll make sure to link to that podcast in the show notes. Whatever you are doing, if you decide to join me, let me know. So you can share a comment in our show notes of this episode. theconnectedyogateacher.com/330 will get you there. Or you can reply to my weekly email that I send out, or you can tag me on social media. So I'm mainly on Facebook and Instagram, and I can link to those in the show notes so that you can find me. Basically, if you decide to do anything with your money right now and it's inspired by this podcast, let me know. I would be thrilled to hear from you. I would be thrilled to hear that you're taking action and doing something. Just this week, a Connected Yoga Teacher listener reached out and told me that they had listened to episode 280 with Shannon Simmons, where we talked about this Profit First method. And I was so thrilled that this podcast listener had an appointment to open a Profit First account booked this week. So if you want to learn more about how to make more profit, I'll link to that episode in the show notes. But if you're feeling like, I don't know about that, I don't know about opening another account and making things more complicated, this is why today's episode is for you. What would it feel like to either check in with your account balances and the transactions that are going through once a day or once a week? If this podcast has been helpful today, or if any other episode has been helpful, or you want to tell us what you think about our podcast, leave us a review. You can do that in your favorite podcast app or over on Apple or iTunes or somewhere. In our show notes, there's a leave a review button. So if you go to theconnectedyogateacher.com and click on any podcast episode, you can leave us a review. We read each and every one. We often share them here on the podcast as well. If you want to hang out in person, we have a live call coming up July 7th. We're going to be talking with Sandy Hilton all about pelvic pain and intimacy. And if you want to join that live call or see any of our other guest expert calls, head on over to pelvichealthprofessionals.com to join or to check out our resources there. We have some free resources on that website. And then it does work as a membership where you pay monthly and you can jump in and learn as much as you'd like, and you can cancel your membership at any time. I want to continue to talk about money a little bit more here on the podcast. I don't know if we're going to do that next week, but we are definitely going to cover some more topics. So if you have money questions, reach out to me in some way and let me know. So my direct email is shannon@theconnectedyogateacher.com. Or you can leave us a voice message if you want. The button's over on our website. You can post something in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group. There's lots of ways that you can reach out to me. Let me know your money questions. Let me know if you want me to share your name or not on the podcast, or if you want me to just share it anonymously. Some of you have been sending me your questions over on Instagram because I posted a question there. I'm really excited to bring you some answers on the podcast here. If I can't answer the question, I'm going to find a guest expert who can. Thank you so much to our amazing team over here for making today's podcast possible. Suzanne, Crunch, Sinead, thank you so much. Also, thank you, dear listener. This podcast would not exist without you. It is because you decide to spend the time here with us, to spend the time here with me as I try and find answers and find things that will support you as you grow your yoga business. That's what makes this podcast even possible. I so appreciate your time, and I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing out in this world, sharing yoga with your community, doing yoga, living yoga, all of the ways that we can practice and share yoga. It makes such a difference in this world. So I want to leave a question with you as I close out this episode. What will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?